So here I am to talk about the Donda album by Kanye West. This will be my first time doing a own video album review, which is funny because I do these all the time. Hit my friends up with them, we discuss it, whatever. But here's my first time going in and actually recording a video. So we'll see how it goes. So one of the things off the bat with the Donda album, I feel like the people that reviewed it, most of them spent half their reviews talking about all of the things outside of the actual music, the lead up, the album release, the parties, the controversy. And for me, as I review this album or really any album, I'm not going to review anything that's not related to the actual music. So that's just me. I'll talk about it though, and talk about it very briefly. I think that I intentionally avoided watching any of the listening party stuff because I didn't want to experience the music in that kind of way. And as I was right, the album that came out did not match, all the songs and album didn't really match what was heard at the listening parties. And I just wanted to hear it for the first time fresh. So that was my experience. And I've played it a few times. Um, I think that the idea of adding Marilyn Manson and the baby just because they were recently in media or public trouble was not a good move. The end result, I don't know if Marilyn Manson's part was actually even on the album that I heard or not, because that nothing from that part of the song sounded any different to me. The only thing that really sounded different was the baby verse versus the Jay-Z verse, which I think that was the one instance of a part two where there was a verse swap. Well, no, I take that back. Two of the part twos had better verses, and then the other ones were more like additions than swaps. So both of the swaps were better swaps, actually, for the part twos. But the baby verse, I wouldn't say it was better than Jay-Z's verse. That's not a better swap. I think that it was worthy of being on the album, and I think a good version of the song possibly would exist with both verses on there. But it's hard because the song's already long enough, and you don't want to extend it unnecessarily, particularly on a bloated ass album like this one is. And that's all I really got to say about that part. The part twos and part ones, I'm just gonna pick the better version, except for the one with Jay Z and the baby. I count those as two separate songs because I like them both, and I think that both of those, the verses, are worthy of being on the album. Everything else, pick my favorite version. The other version, the pretend doesn't exist. 27, 26, 25 songs, depending on, I guess, when you first heard it, that changed, but really more like 21 because of all of the differences in the part one and part two, but really still being the same song. So then, like, two of the songs were interludes, so the album is still bloated, and that's really the biggest knock I have on the album. There's also talk from many people about the polish of the album or lack thereof in certain ways, and when I listened to it, one of the things that surprised me was really how tight it all actually felt. And I think part has to do with why I really like the album. And what makes me like the album is that for the stuff that's on there, I'm able to really establish a strong emotional connection. So I think that the imperfections that exist on the album sort of like add to the pure beauty of it, the pure passion, and that's something that it really brings that um, I stupidly didn't really expect. Like you take a song like Jail, which is probably my second favorite song, maybe favorite song on the album. I really, really love that song. The verse, like the Kanye West verse, he's just singing. It's like I could really, really feel and connect with that, and I think it was very surprisingly well written. I think he says a lot with not a lot of words, and does a great job with that. I'm not gonna go song by song with it, but I'll say that there are certain moments like Jonah, the hook to Jonah, like that's just so soft, subtle, and beautiful. And there are a lot of moments of just pure beauty. The album, like we said, lacked drums, everything like that. I don't know, because again, I think there was a nice, soft, subtle beauty to a lot of the songs. And the of course having total like bangers or what would be radio songs or whatever may not be as strong, but for an album, I don't think I really need that. I made a condensed playlist of the album, which ended up being, I think, like 17 tracks, which two of those don't actually count the songs. So it's 15. One of them I added on, which I really didn't want to add on, so 14. So if I were to really be picky, I could turn it into a 13 song album that's great. But it's up to 27 songs total. So um, that can be viewed as a problem. But in most modern albums, you're not going to get that high of a percentage of goodness, even having it down to 13, really 17 out of 27, 25, whatever. So I think that the album is really emotional. I thought it was going to suck, but in thinking about everything up to the album, as far as where he was at producing it, I forgot that he made Jesus is King. And so I thought this album was going to be Jesus is King. I forgot it existed because I didn't listen to the album. Because I knew it was going to be what everyone says it is, or I believed it was going to be what everyone says it is. I didn't hear it, so maybe it's better than I think it is. But so this album to me was going to be that, but it wasn't that. And so it was My Beautiful Twisted Fantasy, but without as good of rappers on it. I do think that the guest rappers, in terms of just like a spitting bars, lyrical context, a lot of them didn't deliver that, but they brought energy and spirit. The people who I would expect to rap well rapped well, and the ones who I thought wouldn't didn't. Um, Little Yachty, I would cut him from the album, like I thought I would. I think he probably had the worst verse that I can remember, but there are a couple of songs that. So he's on Okay Okay, which I play the other version, but there are a couple other songs which I skip, like Praise God is the one I can think of the name of right now, whereas it's a definite skip. But so I don't remember who is a feature on that song and if their verse is worse than Little Yachty's. But Little Yachty's was my first listen, notably the standout bad verse of the album because he didn't bring the swag or charisma or uniqueness of like a Playboy Cardi to make up for it, maybe not being just like pure bars, but also he just didn't say anything interesting to me. But overall, this is my first review. I'll probably redo a better one because I didn't even plan. I just sat down and started recording. But overall, I think it's a great album, and I don't mean great like masterpiece, tightly woven, blah blah. Whatever. I think that is great in the terms of just the amount of emotion and connection, and the lack of corniness and going too far in immaturity. Like a lot of those things, he cut out and just kept it a lot tighter. So the emotions that exist in the music and even in his singing and other people singing and their raps and everything, all those emotions were allowed to shine without the corniness. It's a little bit, but way less than like Pablo. I think it's Pablo's corniness and immaturity kept it from being what otherwise could have been a classic album. But the immaturity and corniness brought it down. Was this? Um, I don't think that the energy and beats were as captivating, but far more emotional, far more soft, gentle, and it nailed that. So this is my first draft for the Kanye review. I'll probably do a shorter one, try to get down to 5 minutes, but there you go. Really, really good album. I love it. We'll see how I feel about it 2 weeks from now. Uh, but it's a winner to me.